What is going on, guys? In this video, we're going to be taking this Yamaha YZ450 that was street ridden and spent most of its life on one wheel. We're going to be fixing it up and selling it for a good amount of profit. We're going to be going through the entire process from start to finish, from how much I paid for the bike, the cost of the parts to fix the bike, and of course, when we sell the bike, our total profit. So I was browsing Facebook Marketplace, which is where I find most of my deals, and I stumbled across this 2021 Yamaha YZ450. I usually stay away from four-stroke bikes when I'm buying and selling, but in this case, this was a new enough and desirable bike, and it didn't look like it was going to take a whole lot of work to get it ready. This bike was obviously a street-ridden bike. It was up near the Cleveland area, so I went ahead and made sure that this bike had a clean title and it wasn't stolen. Everything checked out good, and we were able to agree on a price of $5,000. Now that we got the bike back home, we can just see that it's just been neglected. Cosmetically, it's going to need a little bit of work, but overall, the bike's in pretty good shape. It's only got 80 hours on it, and it starts right up and runs great. The very first step to any bike build or flip is to get the bike clean before taking it in the shop and getting to work on it. So let's go ahead, grab our soap, grab our water, break out the pressure washer, and get to work on getting this bike as clean as possible. We've got the bike back in the shop and it already looks a million times better. Now, the good thing about this being a street-ridden bike is there's actually significantly less wear and tear after 80 hours compared to a bike ridden in the dirt for 80 hours. Let's go ahead and make a list of all the different things that we're going to do before listing this bike for sale. Of course, we're going to need to replace those tires. I do want to put a new chain and sprockets on, grease the linkage and swing arm bearings, replace those grips, fix or at least try to fix that exhaust dent, do an oil change, and clean the air filter. Let's go ahead and start with the first thing on our list and replacing these tires. So we're going to go ahead and pull these off, and wow, these are really bald. Now, I did have some extra Bridgestone tires laying around the shop from another project that only have 1 or 2 rides on them. So we're going to go ahead and use these. I think they'll work perfect. While we've got the wheels off, I want to go ahead and pull the swing arm and all the linkage apart. That way we can get all that stuff greased and put back together. Lucky enough for me, I was able to go through my parts bin and actually find a brand new rear sprocket for this bike from another project. So that was pretty cool. I was able to mount this thing right up and save the money and didn't have to buy a new rear sprocket. But I did go ahead and buy a brand new front sprocket and chain from Primary Drive over at Rocky Mountain. And last but not least, I went through and checked and tightened all the spokes on the front and rear wheels. Alright, let's take a look at our to-do list and mark the first 3 things off and move on to replacing these grips. That was a pretty easy and straightforward job, so now we can move on to fixing, or at least trying to fix, this exhaust dent. In an effort to save money and not buy a whole new exhaust silencer, we're going to go ahead and pop this off and see if we can get those dents out. There's a pretty good one on the side and then a little bit of one kind of on the top that you can see here. I knew immediately I was going to have to drill these rivets out. That way I can get some force and try to punch these dents out from the inside. So now that we got this back cap off, I'm able to get a better look in here. And I just started kind of pressing with my fingers. I was grabbing some other different tools, trying to kind of push and hammer this out. So the top one I was able to get a little bit better. But I decided it was time to move on and work on that big side dent. So I started grabbing like a T-handle with some duct tape on it, just trying anything to get this popped out. The angles were super weird in there and I couldn't really get a good hit on it. So I wasn't able to fully get that dent out. And I tried as good as I could, but this is kind of where we're left off. So I grabbed the Scotch-Brite, cleaned it up real good, kind of polished it up real nice, and I think overall it looks pretty good. A lot better than buying a new one. So let's go ahead, get the packing back in here, and get it back on the bike. Now that that's finished, we can go ahead and finish up just a few final things. We're going to go ahead and pull this air filter out, get that all cleaned up, re-oiled, and then I'm going to go ahead and do an oil change on the bike and check the coolant level. And there you have it. We are all finished with the bike. Of course, we got those new grips, replaced the tires, put the new chain and sprockets on there. Again, we tried our best with that exhaust dent, but overall, I think the bike turned out great. That means we can check the final things off of our to-do list, and there's one last thing we got to do before posting this bike for sale. That's to grab some SC1 clear coat, give the bike a full shine, make this thing look primo. That way we can get it outside, get some pictures, and get this thing listed for sale. I think we knocked it out of the park with this one. We went through it top to bottom, made sure it's mechanically sound, fixed a few of those cosmetic issues, and I always like to sell a bike that I am proud of and that I would feel comfortable buying myself, and I think we did that with this bike. It starts right up, it runs great, and is 100% ready to ride. Here's my listing on Facebook Marketplace. I took a lot of good photos of the bike out in the sunlight. It makes it look really good. Good quality photos, making sure you're getting all the angles of the bike is very important. So I listed it for $6,800, which again, at the time was a very fair market value for this bike. They were super desirable. There wasn't a whole lot of them around, so I knew I wouldn't have it long. My description just goes through everything, explaining how it's 100% ready to ride, all the work that I did to the bike, the new parts, and with that recipe, I was able to sell this thing in 3 days of having it listed for my full asking price of $6,800. Now we can go ahead and run our numbers to figure out how much money we actually made. So we bought the bike for $5,000. We had only $100 in parts, which is really low for me. We were lucky enough to have those tires and the rear sprocket laying around the shop. We listed and sold it for $6,800, which gives us an overall profit of $1,700. I usually aim for about $1,000 profit on these flips, so this one is a total success. Something else I like to do just for fun is this time breakdown to figure out what our hourly rate might be. So if we take our 8 hours that we had into it and our $1,700 profit, we divide that out and we get $212 an hour. Now, of course, there's a whole lot of other stuff involved in that, but it's kind of fun just to get an overall number. And I'd say $212 an hour is pretty good. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.